What's going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today. You can see I'm repping the boy, Justin Fields. Yes, sir. Our pick last year in the first round, we traded up. Kind of gave us some bad draft capital for this year. A lot of things contributed to the bad draft capital that we had this year with Ryan Pace. But this is the first draft under Ryan Poles. I'm interested with what we did on night one of our nights. Round two, round three was the first night we were drafting, so this was our night one. Tomorrow's our night two. And undrafted free agency is going to be essentially our night three. But we wanted to come on here right away and talk about what we did in this year's draft. At 39, I do like what we did. We went Kyler Gordon. Andrew Booth was on the board. To me, Kyler Gordon was the third best player for what we needed on the board. I had Andrew Booth being number one, Bernard Ryman at number two, and Kyler Gordon at number three, followed by George Pickens. And we went the third guy on my board. All three of them were available. They valued Kyler Gordon a little bit more than Andrew Booth. I understand it. Booth coming off an injury. Kyler Gordon, he can play safety. He can play corner. Physical guy. He's a hard hitter. He's not going to miss very many tackles. I like the pairing of him and Jalen Johnson. I think that's going to be a phenomenal pairing. I really do think Kyler Gordon is going to be a phenomenal player for us at 39. A guy that was seeing late rises up board, potentially hearing his name called for night one. People even invited him to the draft. They thought maybe he was going to be a night one selection, so they invited him to the draft. And that didn't happen. But we did take him on night two of the draft pretty early on. So Kyler Gordon, welcome to the Bears. Bear down. I like that selection there. We had a little bit of a shocker here. I did mention this to you guys that I think we could go safety, whether it would be the safety out of Toledo, whether it be a Kirby Joseph, whether it be a JT Woods, whether it be one of those round three guys, maybe a later pick. Maybe you try to convert a guy like a Jalen Petrie early on. But I did not think we'd go back-to-back defensive backs. I do like it. At first, it was confusing to me. I sat there, I was like, we just went corner in Kyler Gordon that has potential to play safety also. Why did we go Jaquan Brisker? Obviously, at that point, you have Pickens on the board, you have Alec Pierce on the board, you have Sky Moore on the board, you have a lot of the good top receivers still on the board. I mean, not top receiver, but the next tier receivers on the board. Bears fans at this point were mad. They wanted Pickens. I was okay not getting Pickens. Mostly because this is a deep receiver draft. You got a lot of guys still on the board right now after the draft's done. I won't let you know just yet who we picked in the third round, but you still got a lot of guys on the board right now that I think come in and give you impact right away. Where George Pickens is a similar guy, probably a little bit better, a higher upside from those guys, but he does have the red flags there. So I was okay missing on him. And potentially giving that up. I was hoping we'd find him somehow at 71. That obviously didn't happen. He was off a couple picks later. I was hoping Alec Pierce would be there at 71. He wasn't there. But who was there was Velus Jones out of Tennessee. I think he's going to be our Jakeem Grant this year, not necessarily in terms of how he's going to be used on the offensive side of things, but in the return game, I could see him being a return man, a return specialist. He has a very, very fast speed. He's 5'11", ran a 4.3. He's a fast dude. Somebody that you definitely are going to get out and put in and try to get him in as many plays as possible in his rookie campaign. To me, I heard an interesting comparison to him, and it was a Deebo Samuel mold. It wasn't saying he was Deebo Samuel, but it was saying he's built out of the same cloth, and that's the type of way you need to use him. If he's anything close to a Deebo Samuel, that is a home run. I obviously, I liked Jalen Tolbert here. I liked some of the other receivers that were still available here. We didn't go them, and I'm fine with that. The only concern I have about Velus Jones is that he is 25, which I don't think is too worrisome. I think he can come in and be an immediate impact kind of guy. That's really my only concern about him, is that we might only have him for 2 full contracts or something like that. I'm not too concerned about Velus Jones. And by the time his rookie years or his contract's up, he's going to be hitting that spot where he's either in his prime or he's going to end up looking elsewhere to revamp his career, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with taking a little bit of a gamble there on a guy like Velus Jones, especially when you know this is a deep receiver draft. And in the next video, I will talk about who I think we could target with picks 148, 150, and 186. We have 3 more picks in this year's draft. I think the first night went off pretty well. I think it could have been a little bit better. I've given it a B+, not a D+, a B+. A lot of Bears fans, who you talk to them, they hated it because they want George Pickens. Just because you don't get the buzz names in the draft does not mean you had a bad draft. You don't have a bad draft necessarily. I like what we did. Kyler Gordon's a good player. Jaquan Brisker's a really good player. The only problem is the Bears fans were expecting buzzwords. They wanted the Pickens there. They wanted a Sky Moore there. They're thinking just about the offensive side of the ball, which I do understand. Don't get me wrong. The offense has been terrible. But you don't understand also is Akeem Hicks is gone. Robert Quinn might be getting traded eventually, coming soon. Khalil Mack is gone. Roquan Smith's contract's coming up. When we were on the clock in the 3rd round with Nakobe Dean still on the board, I was thinking maybe we go Nakobe Dean to give us a little bit of leeway to use in that negotiation process with Roquan, where we're like, you know what? We don't really have to give you the price that we don't want to give you because we got another option. So I definitely thought Nakobe Dean was in play there, especially with the talent of Nakobe Dean. But I like what we did. The only complaint you can really give is valid is that you think it might have been a little bit too early for an older prospect in Velus Jones, which I do understand, maybe told Bears younger. But you identify a guy you like. He's going to be around 29 when his rookie contract ends. By then, he should be hitting about his prime. You see those receivers, they usually hit their prime around like 28, 29, going into those early 30s. And then you'll see them round off there towards the end. But I think Velus Jones is a guy that you're getting good value out of. I like the pick. Wasn't my favorite pick that we did. That's obviously Kyler Gordon. I loved Kyler Gordon's selection. They got the position I wanted. They filled a huge need on the team. When you look at our team, secondary was a massive concern last year. That lost us a lot of games that we could have won. And I know you're going to sit there and be like, well, receivers, you have better receivers, this and that. We had Allen Robinson last year. He just didn't want to play. But we had Allen Robinson last year. We had Kendall Vildor there last year, who I don't think is bad, but I don't think he's the CB2. You don't win games the way you're playing last year. You got Thomas Graham now, who emerged late in the season when they gave him playing time. You got Kyler Gordon now, and you got Johnson. You got Johnson. Because when you think about it, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Thomas Graham, those 3 right there, hard hitters, good corners that aren't going to really let you catch the ball very much. Kyler Gordon hasn't given a touchdown in 3 years. In 3 years, you get a safety over the top, a ball hawk, Jaquan Brisker, similar to what, not necessarily the exact same of what Eddie Jackson was, but ball hawking safety and Jaquan Brisker. Both of those guys, we're thinking about making turnovers next year, man. I like that. And then you go a speedy, fast receiver that you identified at the top of your board. The Underwear Olympics, as my boy Cam said it, they help you out a lot. 4.3, phenomenal for Velus Jones, and that's what had him going to where he was. I like the pick. I think it helps us compete during the rookie year contract of Justin Fields, which I think is what you want to do. You don't want to sit and hope that Justin Fields is going to wait for 4 or 5 more years, or 2 or 3 more years. You want to give him the best weapons right now and try to propel him into the playoffs so he can have that type of experience going forward. So I'm definitely a big fan of what we did. They didn't give you the buzz names. That's why the buzz names probably would have gave it an A plus, because it's the buzz names. The buzz names are obviously some of the best players at the draft, but I don't think it's a bad. I mean, some people are going to be disappointed, but just because it's not who you wanted doesn't mean it was a bad selection. Um, that's why I'm giving it a B plus. Um, also, make sure you tune in for um, my Chicago Bears rest of the draft. Who I think is the best available.